products, and that's what excites me, is seeing some of these people come in and get as excited about it as we've been for the last year.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, as a matter of fact, since we're on the topic, should we just jump right in and do a quick recap of what we
Yeah,
saw?
let's do it.
Yeah, I think so. So for those that may or may not know, you all probably do that are on the call right now. One of the interesting things about crypto and Web3, particularly in the gaming and NFT side, is that there is no shortage of opportunities to meet around the country and really around the world. It just seems like there's not too much, but there certainly is a proliferation of events, conferences, panels, and not just in the usual spots like Vegas, Miami, New York. They're in Europe, they're all over the place. Hong Kong, I know Singapore is hosting a huge one that's coming up. LA had a big one earlier in the summer. And we try to have a presence at a lot of the main shows just because it's a great time to network. It's a great time to evangelize the Cinder brand, make new strategic partnerships, talk to potential investors. They're a lot of fun too. And this New York event that was just a couple of weeks ago was no exception. It was started on a Monday. It went the entire week. Last year's event was really all about the apes. They did a really good job of taking over Times Square and the Bowery area and had crazy cool events every night. And they did an awesome job kind of getting people hyped about their project and really about NFTs in general. And I think a lot of projects rode that wave into last month's NFT NYC event, which was yes, the apes still had a really big presence, but it was really not about that at all. And Spire, I'd be interested in getting your take on that. But it really was more about what Cinder Spire was talking about, a proliferation of a lot of different projects, that it wasn't just about apes or punks, that there was a lot more coming on the horizon. And what I saw was an incredible amount of enthusiasm and excitement, which is ironic because, as everyone knows or who's been following the markets, both crypto and stock, NFTs and crypto in general are in a bear run right now, as are regular stocks. And you would think that that would have put a bit of a damper on the vibe or the spirit of what was going on in the city. But actually, I experienced just the opposite. It was events and gatherings till 2 or 3 in the morning with hundreds or thousands of people. A lot of great meetings to be had with people that were looking to invest. There's a lot of capital out there in the space looking for good projects run by good teams. And it got me really, really excited to see not just artwork as NFT projects, but layer 1 and layer 2 solutions, new tools, wallets, payment integration solutions. And what that tells me is that very near term and then into the midterm, this thing is going to keep evolving and changing radically. And what's true today and what's accepted or what's normal today, just by way of like buying something on an exchange, an NFT on an exchange, or swiping your card to purchase crypto, that's going to become easier and easier as the months go on, and there are going to be more and more options and tools that are streamlined and slick. So my takeaway from the New York City event was a lot of excitement and a lot of energy going into the second half of the year. I think the next probably big show is going to be after Thanksgiving at Art Basel in Miami. There's going to be others here stateside, no doubt. But I think between now and then, I'm really excited for us to put our head down and execute on the roadmap, of which Cypher is going to go over in a lot more detail here in a little bit. But my general takeaway was that NFTs are alive, they're growing. But I think the one difference is that it's really going to be a lot about the team, the project roadmap, the experience, and the ability to weather and navigate some of these bear markets, because we know that markets are going to fluctuate, and that's okay. It's about building our community, continuing to do what our roadmap is compelling us to do, and I think we're going to have a really, really fun rest of year going into next year. But anyway, I will shut up now and pass the mic. But I was pretty pumped on New York. I don't know if that was your takeaway.
No, I'll add one thing to that, because I heard a lot of people talking about this in New York, and it's how do we get from the enthusiast phase of NFTs to the mainstream phase. So, how do we go from where we've been now, where people they've got their MetaMask wallets and their Phantom wallets, and they're using Pancake and Sushi Swap and all these things to grab things on other chains, and there's a level of complexity there that for the non-enthusiast, it's kind of like, I don't know, in my world, people who are really into motorcycles, people outside of that don't want to hear you talking about, taking your bike apart and all the different parts and makeup something. It's just it gets too specific, too techy. So how do we go from where we are now to where the average person comes in, they swipe a credit card or they use a payment system that they're familiar with already. It's coming directly through their bank, and they never really interact directly with the blockchain. From their perspective, it's kind of seamless to the way that they're used to making online payments. And a lot of the folks that were exhibiting or speaking at NFT NYC were the middleware providers and the innovators that are coming in and trying to solve that problem. And that gets me excited for the future, because that's really where we need it to go. For a game like Cinder to compete with where we want it to compete, which is with the biggest mobile games and social media outlets that are out there, we need to bring the rest of the population in and not just the enthusiast population. So it's great to see that the rest of the industry is thinking about that too.
Yeah, one other thing that I'll add to that, the Animoca crew definitely says hello to the Cinder community. I saw it asked earlier, like, what's the status of the relationship with Animoca? It's still incredibly strong. As a matter of fact, we meet with the Animoca tokenomics department once a week. I know it's on the agenda today to go into a little bit more detail on tokenomics and Cypher. Please forgive me if I kind of jump the gun a bit, but I think we shared before, their tokenomics team is this incredible array of people with crazy advanced degrees that I can't even pronounce in math, science, and astrophysics that are helping us to design this economy that will really come into play when we launch staking here just soon with our token coming up. But they're very, very bullish on what they're seeing, the game design, the loops that we're proposing, and how it's all going to tie into the actual token that's going to be coming out. And it's really, really fun to sit in council with them on a weekly basis and watch this thing evolve. And it was personally, it was great and rewarding to finally put faces to names on screens. We were able to meet with them in person in New York and sit down and just kind of partake of their vibe. Really good energy. The two team members that we met are based in just outside of London, and really charming people. Also was able to meet up with the CEO of Animoca North American Ops, Robbie Young, who is just an amazing, amazing guy. He's an evangelist for all things NFT, but particularly on the game side, and again, express his enthusiasm and for our community, for what we're doing, and a love for our project. So just wanted to pass along their well wishes and definitely express the excitement that they have for what we're all building here together. So anyway, that was my takeaway from NFT NYC.
No, good point. Animoca was definitely out in force there, and it's great every time we're able to connect with those guys and just kind of get an idea of their continuing enthusiasm for Cinder and support for this community. But we've got our usual AMA items of business that we need to get done. Cypher, I think we give away some soul around this time, don't we?
We do, and we do have a winner if you're ready.
Hey, lay it on me.
All right, so our one soul winner for the start of this AMA is Trick.
Trick, hold on to that soul because it's going back up, my friend.
Congrats, Trick.
I'm still a maxi. I still believe. Yeah, congrats, Trick. Make sure to get our mod team your Solana wallet address, and we will drop that to you as soon as we're done here. I think before we get into the million things, Cypher, that you have to talk about on the design front and new stuff that we're showing, there was a question that I think Hack probably wants to address right up front, which is current contests, future contests. I know we just wrapped one up where we got some incredibly cool artwork. But Hack, what are your thoughts on what's coming up on that front?
Repeat that really quick. Sorry. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Drinking margaritas, I think.
Maybe.
If we talk, we've said no hot boxing during the AMA. I mean, you got to be.
I'm not in California anymore. I can't do that.
All right. We're talking about contests. We just had this fantastic imp art contest where we got some amazing art back from the community. What's on the drawing board for future contests?
Well, what I want to do is appeal to people who are, someone had a good criticism on the fact that, yes, these contests are fun, but are they a little young? And so I want to try to come up with ways to, I want to make it, but it's like, how can you make a contest mature?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm all for suggestions. So I want to come up with a way where it's like, some people can't or don't have time to do art, or they can't fill this kind of stuff in. So when we get the generator out, I kind of want to have fun with like, what's the best fashion for your imp, or how you're going to make them more for your fae. So it's kind of going to go more in that direction of like in-game direction instead of out-of-game direction. I hope I'm making sense, because it's been kind of a spiral in my brain of like, okay, what can I do to do this? And then more in-game activities instead of out-of-game activities. That's what I want to go for.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Yeah.
Okay. So the suggestion box is open, I guess, and you're looking for a way to make the contest more mature.
Well, like
which
more,
I say with,
I know
with
that
great
sounds
hesitation
bad.
because I know where that's going to go in your mind.
I know. You see how he picks on me, y'all? I don't do nothing. Oh, my accent's coming out. I've been in Texas only a month, and it's just gotten even thicker. So I do want to make sure it's more inclusive in a way, because some people just, they just don't have time, or they can't get to it, or they don't
Sure.
have Photoshop, or they're just like, hey. But I do want to increase more end-game content, so that's what I'm here for. And I think with what we're kind of doing now, I'm excited, because there's going to be more chances for that. So that's what I'm working on right now. I hope that is a perfectly acceptable answer. And no, I'm
That's a
not
perfectly
hotboxing.
acceptable.
I am not
Okay.
hotboxing.
All right, you're fully engaged now. No, well, yeah. So I guess the answer is no announcements of new contests today, but that's what we're talking about
So
internally.
Monday,
and-
probably go look on our social for Monday. Monday's when we're going to have a contest set up. Yes.
All right. Let's jump into what brought people here, which is what the hell have you guys been working on all this time, and when is our imp generator coming out, and all of the questions that brought us together here. Cypher, you want to take this from the top?
Yes, I have a whole bunch of things here to talk about, but NFT generator is at the top of my list. So
All right.
let's kick that off. Right now we are, as most people, if anyone's worked in any type of development, we're in that kind of we've been in that last 5% phase, which is typically the most difficult, and that is getting everything set up on our staging environment and then pushed to our production environment, which we talked about in our last AMA. So what we have going on right now is we have QA testing the feature, and they're testing the flow all the way through. We want to make sure that when we put this out, we don't have any issues, and we are just chipping away at the final pieces of polish. These may be things like, one of the things that we're working on currently is, at the moment that the NFT has been delivered to the player or to the game account, that the client or that the player's account is notified that that NFT is available. And our hope here is to keep you from having to restart Cinder to see that new NFT, but actually be able to just receive it in game while playing. Lots of good stuff happening here. The team is actually just a group of rock stars. They've really been burning the midnight oil to get this done. But what we want to do, because there have been some delays here, we want to make sure that the community gets a chance to see what we are creating. And so we're generating a video right now of that entire flow in our development environment to be able to show from A to Z everything, all the steps that you would take, the delivery of the NFT to your account, all of it. And so the hope is to get that video out to the community probably on Monday. And then NFT generator is set to follow. So lots of good progress there, really down to the final tweaks and issues that we're looking to resolve, and super, super close.
Yeah, it really has been QA for the last couple of weeks, right? And that's something that I think maybe people who are specifically in here, Web3 or NFT investors, aren't familiar with how live games actually operate, and the fact that there's there's a lot of testing that has to go in before we bring things into the live environment. We need to see it over a distance of ground in the stage and test environments. But tell me a little bit more about what this is coming on Monday. This is kind of a video demo, or what's that going to be?
Yeah, so we've been to this point, right, where everything has been coded up. It's all implemented. Obviously we're working on things like, generating those builds. We have an asset generator service that we use. We have a token burner service that we use. So all of those things that are being tested, all are fully in and functional. So what we wanted to do was generate a video that shows what that user experience looks like, all the way from selecting to deposit your token or spend your token, accessing that generator, going through all of the options on an imp, and then generating that NFT and having it delivered directly to the game. And so that's what we want to share on Monday, which this should give a perfect window into what the generator experience is like. I've seen that question come up a few times. And so I think this will answer that, followed by the release shortly after, once we have everything buttoned up.
All right. And assuming that everything goes well with this last phase of testing, do you want to give an ETA on that actual release, or is it still pending some testing results?
So I want to. I did a few weeks ago as well, and it's like that. I know. I wish I wish I could see into the future. I feel like we have been in this very, very final step now for about a week and a half. We are there. So we are just getting everything set up to do final tests on stage. We build separately for each development environment, and so I am super, super hopeful that we'll be looking at this within the next week or so. I think if QAing and everything goes solid on this round, then we would be up again testing on the staging environment early to middle of next week. And then that's really the key. Once that comes through perfect, then we move to our production environment and we're ready for release. So soon.
So I know that one of the questions that we got posted in the AMA questions thread from Sun Fury was about how the imp generator works, and asking if it was similar to the Animal Jam character customization. Maybe I guess we're going to see this in the video, right? We'll see what some of these differences are, but
we will see these differences in the video, and so you'll be able to see all of the customization being interacted with and actually set in real time. The idea behind the customization of an imp is somewhat similar to what you would see in something like Animal Jam, in that you have a lot of predetermined options that are set for you that you can go ahead and customize. Again, this is so we can define what those attributes are for the NFT that you're generating. But there are some things that you wouldn't see necessarily in Animal Jam. So, obviously we do have tattoos and things in Cinder, and that's a little bit akin to the patterns. But we also have scale, and so there'll be ways to scale the different parts or various parts of your imp, which is definitely a difference there. And then beyond that, we have themes. And so if we combine a theme with our tattoos, again, that could be viewed as a pattern, but it's a little bit more powerful than that. So,
cool.
But yeah,
okay.
Somewhat similar.
All right. Well, and I know that we've got a ton of other stuff that's being worked on right now that you want to hit in this update. So maybe we'll see if we get any more questions on the imp generator. But for now, let's talk about some of these other things, including I know we've had some questions around staking. Do you want to give us an update on that?
Definitely. So that's another one that we're just building in parallel right now. On the staking side, that work's actually coming along really nicely. So on what I call the client side, right, which is the client is the part of our game that talks to the server. The client side is where all the UI goes in and the interface and how you'll interact with the staking system. That is all coming along smoothly. And now we're working with Animoca, actually, to lock down what those Ash staking yields will look like. Because again, that kind of factors into this overall tokenomics conversation that that's kind of ongoing. And so when staking is released, it will also come not just with the Ash, but it'll come alongside the release of power shards within the game, which is going to be the first kind of gamified component. So once you get those power shards, they're going to be used in that curator room that we've previewed to craft new Daisho cores. So it's going to be a pretty exciting update, or in fact, a pretty exciting couple of updates in the next few weeks, because as we get the generator out, staking is coming alongside that or just after that. That involves a new room, that involves interactions in the world and inventories where you'll be collecting these power shards and crafting data shards to make your power cores. So very, very cool updates coming, and be excited for the staking side as well, because that's the beginning of introducing these Daisho into the world.
Yeah, and Mo Sherman talked earlier about this weekly tokenomics meeting that we have with the Animoca folks, and their very intimidating brain trust there. I don't know, Mo, if you want to talk any more about just the development of the currency and the relation to staking there, because those have been fascinating conversations, and I think we've learned a lot in that weekly group.
Yeah, I think that it's important to note a couple of things. Early on, staking was, and it still continues to be, a speculative exercise whereby people are wondering, hey, can I cash in these coins or tokens and make some real world money? And staking is always, to a certain degree, going to revolve around that principle. But what we've been seeing with a lot of projects is that, for the most part, those projects that are built on that kind of speculative ethos often run the risk of just falling to zero really quickly, particularly once the lockup period ends and everybody dumps their tokens. What that tells us as a game design studio, and I think other people that are following in that footsteps, is that it's not just about releasing a token, and it's not just about quote unquote utility, which now is, that word is being used so much that it's almost losing meaning. There has to be direct functionality from the token and the in-game experience. And obviously, we realized that and knew that. But the task with the Animoca team is helping them understand, as an economic group, um, how every game decision or design decision that Cypher's talking about and that his team is working on can and might be affected by the value or the proliferation of the token. And on a week-to-week basis, what we'll see is Cypher will come and have some ideas about, well, here's how the Daisho cores will work, or here's how the Daisho battling might work, or here's how an introduction of a new avatar might work. And they generally, I don't want to say push back, but their feedback is always revolving around, well, how's that going to affect the economy? Because their goal is aligned with our goal, which is not just to release a bunch of tokens and then hope that they're worth a lot of money and everybody sells them and dumps them the day the lock's over. What we want to do is illustrate that these tokens, we're calling them Ash, that Ash is going to have very significant in-game value, so that people aren't dumping them. Actually, they're trying to accumulate as many as possible. And what I'm excited about is that thus far, the design that they have in mind, I hesitate to say that it guarantees it, but it certainly makes it much more likely that people will understand the in-game value of Ash very, very quickly, and probably much more than prior tokens have been either understood or accepted in other projects. And what I think we're going to see, and what I'm pretty confident that we're going to see, if not almost totally confident, is that people are going to want to hold on to Ash and accumulate, because there's going to be not just a lot of stuff to buy within the game, but value beyond just purchasing to hold that's going to unlock or give you the ability to access other things beyond just Daisho. And the staking piece, well, the staking piece as it pertains to Ash, that's the easy part. The token itself, the Ash, is not going to be coming out till later in the year, but staking will be coming out live here very shortly. By staking your NFT, you're able to start accumulating what we're just calling pre-Ash or P-Ash. And the more you have of that, the better it will be when it's converted at a rate to be determined a little bit later by the Animoca Econ team. Again, the more P-Ash you have, the better it will be. And the purpose of these sorts of gatherings, these AMAs, is for Cypher and others to go into a little bit more detail and tease exactly why the P-Ash is going to be valuable and what you're able to buy. But from a very kind of high level, non-economist viewpoint, I'm really, really excited about how thoughtful the tokenomics team is approaching the design of the coin. And frankly, it's no secret, the Animoca team, they win if the token wins. And so they're very much vested in designing something that's going to make sense, it's going to have longevity, and that, most important, isn't going to be subject to just to be sold when lockup ends, and then it all goes to zero. Nobody wins that way. What we want to do is create something that people are going to want because there's utility and usefulness on day one when it launched with as it relates to the gameplay. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that, and I think that we're well on our way to launching Ash in a very meaningful and thoughtful manner by which you're going to want to hold on to it and have as much of it as possible. I want as much of it as possible. I have none right now, but I'm going to be staking mine too, the ones that I bought, because I want to earn as much P Ash as possible.
Yeah, in very simplified terms, I think that's a great way to put it, is that it's hard for you as the earliest investors in Cinder to understand what is the value of this currency until there's something to buy, right? And this is a lot of what the Animoca team helps us put into context is, yeah, how much of that can we get across to this audience at the point that the token launches? And what impresses me about them is that it really is, it's long-term thinking. It's not okay, how do we fluff up this currency so that we can cash out of some tokens and raise more money that way. It's really about how is this going to function in a long-term game economy that's going to be around 10 years from now, and make sure that we don't paint ourselves into a corner with decisions that we make early on. So yeah, it's a great explanation, Mo, and appreciate that. I think that helps illuminate things for these folks. But there's a lot more that's being worked on right now. And Cypher, I think we've barely scratched the surface of your list. What do you want to talk about next?
I think as we kind of get into these general production updates, like the things that are being worked on, I do want to bring up that, as we talk about, this token and its value within the game, some of the meetings, to do even a deeper dive here, some of the meetings that are currently happening with Animoca and some of the back and forth right now is based on, or they are based on, our sinks and our faucets. So the areas in which we sink currency basically back into Cinder by pulling it from players when they spend, and faucets where we give them currency within the game. And we right now are we have a back and forth going on with about 55 faucets. And so that's quite a few. And that what they are is these are the different areas in the game where you're going to be able to earn currency, whether you're uncrafting or disassembling a dice show or their parts, whether you're winning a battle or possibly even a tournament or an event. Everything from investigating tech heaps or areas of the game that you're exploring. So we just have a lot going on here. And in fact, really our discussion is centered around, as we balance all of this currency and this economy, do we have enough? Do we have too much? Do we have too little? And so I can kind of come back from the design perspective and say, just like any game economy, there are a lot of hooks. There are a lot of pieces coming into play here. So I'm pretty excited. This task is pretty daunting, and it's taking time to do, but it's been really insightful. So
there's a lot more that we're building too, though, right? I know that
Yes.
we've got some new environments that are in production, as well. Of course, Daisho and combat and all that stuff is ongoing. Where do you want to start with all the new stuff that's coming up?
So we have a few things. We have, something we're working on here that we would like to do in short order is we want to put in some activities and some gameplay or things that players can do inside of the game, especially while other larger features are being worked on. So one thing that's in production now are parlor games. And so what these are games that will appear at the tables. I think I'm hovering over one right now. And these will be an area where players can come in and compete, play games with their friends, give us something to do during the AMAs. But that's one thing that's happening on the side. So right now we're focused on 2-player games, and those we should be seeing here in short order within a matter of just a couple, maybe I would say about 1 to 2 weeks to get the one that we're currently working on completed, tied up, and ready for deployment.
Cool. So are we gonna have things like leaderboards there? How can I defeat people and elevate my social standing by beating them in public?
Yes. So for us, we are going after, let's get the game and the activity in first. Let's look at how it's engaged with. We were then considering, do we want to associate or tie a reward structure to that, leaderboards to that? Do we want to cycle them? So that is a very good question. While we do have leaderboards on our radar, those would probably be the second step to this process.
Gotcha. Because this seems like it could solve some of Hack's contest problems, right? We could be giving things away around these parlor games.
That is possible. Yes.
All right.
I have a few others here. So I have another update just on avatars. So happy to announce that the Minotaur avatar has been through its modeling pass, is going now into rigging and animation. Those things are coming up next, as well as the companion avatar. So we have not shared that avatar with the community yet. However, it is modeled and ready to go. Maybe another case where a contest is warranted to see if anybody can maybe pinpoint what we've selected there. But we will be sharing a little bit more on Discord in the coming days. I want to get some images of the models up there, get community feedback, and just show some eye candy.
That's cool. That's cool. We've got some rooms and environments that have been worked on too. Are we going to show anything on those soon?
Yes, so we've been doing some sharing, and I know this stresses out our artists a little bit because not everything, has had all of its polish, or polish passes haven't been completed, or maybe it's a concept, but I have been passing some imagery over to the Discord team to get those shared. So we've shared some initial looks at the void. Those are more void tests, I would say, as we're moving through the concept phase. There's a lot of work happening there. Everything from how kind of infected areas are presented to the player. We have some cool portal designs. We actually demonstrated one of those in just a quick little clip that we shared up on Discord. We're testing out the Daisho capture mechanic in there, and then we're moving the Daisho combat tests into the void here shortly as well. And so that's one of our, so think of the void as like a big expansive environment that the players will explore. They will hunt in that environment. There will be PvE battles in that environment. And as soon as we're up and running and that environment meets our standards, I see no reason not to put it in for a little bit of community feedback as well. So
help me visualize that in the void, because I know, okay, our Daisho combat is taking place there. Our Daisho infection has taken place there, right? So we've got these things roaming around in the void. And in a lot of TCG, CCG games, I'm going along in an environment, and then when it goes into combat, it pulls me out into a different environment, into like a little arena type interface. And as I understand the design here, you're saying more, hey, this is all taking place like kind of live in the void. Is that right?
So the exploration, in a sense, yes. That's actually a kind of a complicated question. So we have the void environment, which is inhabited by the Daisho. We have areas of the void that are currently infected, and that's typically because they're teaming with Daisho, more aggressive Daisho. And in those infected areas, that's where we expect basically a player to encounter Daisho for PvE combat, and that is more like by entering an infected area, you're opting in to that PvE scenario. So that will bring up those random encounters. Now, as far as loading into another area, so for our capture mechanic right now, we do teleport the player to a new area, but we do that more for social reasons to ensure that players aren't getting conflicting views of what's happening within the game world, since there could be dozens in that room at the same time. And then for combat, we've actually been testing combat in an isolated arena right now, but we're going to move that into the void, and then that's where I think we're going to kind of come to those conclusions. So I can't say I have a firm answer there until we get into the void. That is the plan, to be testing those things within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense though. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the middle of capturing a Daisho and have some other random person, coming in, jumping into my field of view, right?
Yeah, so there are some things there. We're really looking at that player experience and just making sure we don't run into social conflicts with multiplayer. So, but that's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I know that we had a question from Zenitsu about the void, and maybe while we're on the topic, we want to drill down on that a little bit, because they were also saying, is it the entire void that's infected by Daisho, or just parts? Are there other resources that we can find out there?
Yeah, so right now we do have the entire void is occupied by Daisho, and that's kind of the purpose of heading to that environment to go hunt. Areas that are infected or that appear with this infected theme. That is the more rabid and threatening daisho that are occupying that space, and that is the opt-in for PvE combat. Those will also represent more difficult gameplay challenges. So hunting daisho in that area would be more difficult, but actually have the potential to yield higher level or higher rarity daisho. We also have within the void, there's exploration mechanics that we have there, whether you're looking or basically investigating what we're calling tech heaps. So these are areas of the environment that contain ash or potential daisho parts. And if you're really, really lucky, possibly a daisho core. We have daisho remnants. So these would be components or parts of a daisho that would be collectible by players and used to modify different daisho in the daisho editor, the customizer. And yeah, I mean, then we also have another section that we haven't really dove into this much, but our training of daisho does require the use of a consumable. And these consumables are also basically a consumable. Think of that as something that you spend. So you collect this by finding it somewhere in the environment, and then you utilize it for a specific purpose to train up different daisho cores. And so we're looking at that as a big part of this exploration loop. And yeah, players will go collect content, hunt, battle, and explore, and then take what they have collected and earned and use that to level up new daisho and enhance their combat experience.
Got it. Okay. Well, great. I think that helps everybody understand what's being worked on, what's happening in the void, and in daisho construction and everything. What's the next thing that they should expect to see? I mean, we talked about releasing some new art and videos next week. Is some of this among that?
Yeah. So from the void, I actually wanted to put together a couple. So one is a little run through demonstrating what some of the areas would look like. So this would be an area that is maybe an area that's occupied versus that same area, or an area that has been infected. So that's another thing that we're really working to do, is ensure that, you know, those areas that are infected or contain those rabid daisho, those are going to move around the void over time. And so we want to demonstrate what the two different kind of those two different poles of that environment look like. So that will be coming in a short video clip. We have the demonstration of the NFT generator coming. That might be a slightly longer video clip. I have some imagery of the Minotaur as well as its companion avatar, which I will still be discussing if we're sharing that companion avatar quite yet. We need some secrets that we can hold on to. And then we've shown concept for, and even some in-game imagery for the curator room, which will be going live with staking, as well as we have the reduction of irritants room, which we shared concepts on that a little earlier. I think it was last week. And those concepts are actually reaching a final state. And so we're looking to move to modeling, which gets us closer to being able to kind of show that room inside of Trader Sport. And the reduction of irritants room, that is a facility where players will go to disassemble their daisho back into ash. So that will play a pretty central role as players are working to level up and working to train their daisho.
That's a place that every player is going to be very familiar with.
Very much so, yes. Those and that and the curator room also do contain some tidbits of lore and some things that are going to start to add some scaffolding to the backstory and the world of Cinder. And so I see another avenue for some potential contests there.
Cool. So some of the video you talked about on Monday, some of this other art and kind of update on concepts and things later in the week, further on. Give me a reason not to destroy the internet over the weekend.
So I would say Monday through Friday of next week that the community should expect an update each day.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, I think we have enough to be able to share. We've been kind of holding off on a few things, and all of these are coming to a state where they're able to be shared. So next week, let's count on video on Monday. You know, Minotaur. I don't want to commit to these days here as I'm just talking, but yes, something each day of the week. But we'll share the Minotaur, the environment progress, all of it.
Okay, Hack, you're going to be busy posting stuff, and
Send those
Cypher
my
now.
way. Send those my way. You know where I'm at on Slack. You send those my way. I'll talk with some people, make sure we're not like double posting because I am excited. I am excited. Maybe I'll double post out of excitement. Hold on. So send those my
Well,
way. You know where to find me. I'm ready. I'm ready.
this will be a big week next week
I
then.
know. I'm so
And
excited.
all right, you folks in this audience are going to hold you to this, Cypher. So, let me see. I know that you've been working on a lot of updates to the white paper as well, and we had some questions about that. What's your vibe on that? What is it that's being added or changed, and when's that happening?
Yes, that is happening now. So I'm working on that right now. What I will be including in this next update as we publish will be more information about the staking plan moving forward, the updated roadmap, updated artwork, additional information on the NFT generator, Daisho capturing, training, and combat. So we'll start to paint a better picture of gameplay in the white paper. And then I'll probably find a grammatical error or two in there and fix that as well.
We've got a lot of new art that we can add in there as well, too.
We do have quite a bit. So updated artwork is definitely a key on there. Everything from, including a little bit more on the avatar side. We have some really cool concepts, possibly showing off some of the models that are in various states as well. Just really want to start opening those floodgates.
Yeah, and you and Mo Sherman and I were talking about this yesterday, but I know he might want to comment on the fact that there are a lot of people looking at this white paper right now and kind of keeping up with the project on an ongoing basis. And that ranges from guilds to other investors that are interested in the Cinder space. Is that fair to say, Mo?
Yeah, it actually is. I know that Cypher's been busy doing about 30 things and doing all of them very, very well. The white paper, at first I was kind of skeptical on white papers. They kind of just seem to exist because everyone says you have to have one. But if they're done well, they're actually a really helpful tool in explaining some critical aspects of your project. And one of the questions that we keep getting is around the gameplay, and that's fine. We embrace that. We embrace that line of questioning because we feel like we have a good answer. Earlier part of this year, we were focused on getting the world open to everybody, getting a successful mint, closing our round with Animoca. Those are not trivial tasks. And now that all of that is behind us, the focus has been heads down on defining and not just designing and defining, but kind of explaining and helping people see the vision of what the gameplay is going to be. The white paper is a great tool to really dig deep, roll up your sleeves, and we have, it's been mentioned, Spire mentioned, we have guilds that are reading it. We definitely have loads of VC that are at least saying that they're going to read it. It's a dense document, but we're also working towards getting some really polished media clips that are going to go into detail exclusively on just different aspects of gameplay. Quick cut scenes, but that show, okay, if I'm in the world, this is what it's going to be like to capture a Daisho, to hunt one, to train one, to battle them. And so, yeah, the white paper is going to continue to evolve. I know that we're going to put some critical updates in there here pretty soon. Keep checking back, but yeah, happy with the progress so far, and really happy with what Cypher's been able to do to help outline the vision of what this project's going to be.
Yeah, that visualization is really important. It's something that we hear from potential investors and in guilds and that frequently. I know, I mean, I've been in the games industry since we were making games with I don't know, sticks and feathers like the Blair Witch. And one of the first games that I ever did lead design on back in the mid 90s, the entire funding for that game came from a publisher that was responding to kind of a two-page design that I had written up that wasn't even really a design document. It was more of just this is what it's going to feel like to play this game. And for a small studio at the time, that's what got us funded on our first big project. And we can't really do that these days. These days, there are just too many tools out there to help you visualize what gameplay is going to look like. And even if it's a, if it's a video that's a mock-up, or it's a white paper that goes into more detail on that, people expect to see that, and I think that we've done a good job of delivering that so far. But I think one of the things that we're all excited about is that, first of all, gameplay is getting a lot closer, and second of all, now we've got built a lot of the assets that are going into this, so we can stage that type of demonstration video of, even while we're working on something, here's something that we can whip up in the stage environment and show you exactly what we're testing and what it's going to look like. So, that digression aside, Cypher, I think you're still kind of front and center here, because I don't know if we hit most of the stuff that, or all of the stuff that is kind of currently worked on that you wanted to hit here. Should we go to questions?
No, I think we have, for the most part. There was one. There was actually something pertaining to the Minotaur that was a question from Hexel today. It was asking about our future creator tokens, and if that next creator token would be based on how many of the Minotaur you own, as well as Fae, or just Minotaur by itself. And it actually will be just the Minotaur as it is currently designed. So my example here would be that if you own a Fae, you got your creator token. If you purchase a Minotaur, you get another creator token. And if you continue to own that Minotaur and we decide to do additional airdrops of creator tokens for that Minotaur, then those would come based on just the ownership of that Minotaur.
Got it.
So,
Okay. No, that's a good question for us to clarify. I know, looking at the questions that we've received, another one from Sun Fury was about what new areas are being planned, but I think we kind of covered that. You mentioned the reduction of irritants department room, the curator room, and kind of the ongoing work on void environments. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I think the only thing I want to add to that is we talk about the void as a single environment, but I think it's fair to consider that a collection of
Yeah.
environments. And so that you'll see a lot of variance in style adjustments as you go between different areas or shift between different biomes. And so there is more coming there. But yeah, that's what we're head down focused on now. If we look ahead to the future, Cinder does have this future implementation of a marketplace and other things that are coming. However, these are the ones that I think the community should expect to see first.
Got it. Okay. All right. What other questions should we tackle here? There was one other one from Sun Fury about are there any plans to include NPCs in Cinder? I mean, aside from the dice show, which I guess technically are NPCs, I don't know that we're planning anything along those lines right now, right?
Yeah, so right now, not necessarily. We kind of do in an interesting way, because we're not really putting humanoid or Fey-like characters in as NPCs, but we are utilizing technology and more kind of Daisho type nanobot tech as kind of an NPC variant. So I do think it's probably fair to say that yes, there will be NPCs and interactions within the game. Will they look like Fey and imps? Probably not. But really, right now, our heads are really down on the core loops here, and so NPCs, we look at that as kind of a secondary piece once we have some of these foundational pieces fully in.
Gotcha. Okay. We had a question from Gaza that I'll tackle. Gaza says, "What is the relationship Cinder has with NFT Arcade?" Their website suggests their services are deployed into Cinder along with a bunch of other Web3 games. Presumably this means that Cinder avatars can be staked with Nifty Arcade, that they manage renting them to other players. Will they be managing the rental of Fae? Or is our Cinder staking independent of NFT Arcade? We are good friends with the NFT Arcade folks. They are actually just down the road from us here in Utah. And I had the privilege of sharing a stage with their CEO at Cryptopia a couple of weeks ago in a conversation that I think is up on YouTube now. And we are very interested in what they're doing, and they have been actually big investors in and boosters in Cinder. Investors in that they own a bunch of Fae that they have purchased because their business model is really about being in a position to supply scholarship programs to prominent Web3 games, and to put together, kind of player guilds that are among the best of the best, and give them the resources to succeed in the game. So we're not using any of their technology or systems as background there, but I would say that they are a great resource for us just in talking to them about what guilds really need to succeed in the Web3 game space. It's something that we haven't announced plans for any guild specific functionality in the game, but it is something that we're talking about with the NFT Arcade folks and with other guild organizations, because we want to be planning for that from the outset, so that at the point that we're launching the full game loop, that we want it to be obvious where guilds can slot into that right away. And programs like what the scholarship programs that NFT Arcade does are essentially where they're looking to players in often in parts of the world where this can actually, Web3 gaming can actually be an income stream, and they're looking for opportunities to supply skilled players there with the resources like Fae, like Daisho, like our NFTs, to actually be able to earn in the game, and then advance those in a guild environment. And I think it's a really cool program, and I love that their view of it really is about empowering people in these countries to explore gaming as a potential income stream. But no, I know that our logo is up on their website, and really it's not because we're partnering on their technology or using any of that background, but we are close to them and talking to them about how we can best prepare for guilds in Cinder. And that's all we got to say on that. So, what other questions have we got here?
I think that's everything I had on. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Oh, I see a request for more Daisho model leaks. We can definitely make that happen. Let's count on that being one of the things that we'll share next week.
All right. Well, I think we may have just timed this out perfectly then, because we've got time to give away another soul. And let's see, do you want to shake your magic 8-ball for that, Cinder, and tell us, or Cypher, sorry, and tell us who wins that?
Yes, our second one soul winner for today is Ice Crystal.
Ice Crystal. That would be a great metal band name. I'm going to steal that, Ice Crystal, for my new metal band. All right. Ice Crystal, make sure you get our mod team your public address for your Solana wallet, because we would like to drop a soul into it, and urge you to hang on to it, because we're turning around here, folks. We are getting past the crypto winter. I was on Fractal earlier today. I saw a legendary Fae for 6 soul. And I can tell you that if none of you buy it, I am going to buy it, because while soul is down low, a legendary Fae for 6 is just nuts. Any final thoughts? Mo, Cypher, Hack?
I'm not gonna lie, when y'all mentioned the new content, I kind of did a golem, like, my precious. Give me my precious.
I've got to record you doing that. I want that to be my ringtone.
I just snorted. I'm
That
so
caught me off guard. That caught me a little off guard.
Well, I'm just excited. It's not my fault y'all make cool stuff. Jeez, like,
No,
not
it
my
is.
fault.
Yeah.
My
So
final, thanks everybody for appreciate your participation. I know it's a Friday afternoon, but we really do have a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike. And as always, appreciate everybody's participation in everything that we're doing. We love this community, and it's a great project. This year is going to continue to be awesome. So be excited.
All right. Well, thank you, Hack, Cypher, and Mo, for joining us here. Thank you for all of you being a part of this. I'm sorry we didn't have any time to take any live questions, but we had some great ones in the AMA questions thread. Of course, just because the AMA is over doesn't mean that we're not continuing to read those questions and answering them as we can. And we've got a great mod staff here that's also been very helpful, particularly for people who are just kind of coming into this community for the first time and figuring out what it's all about. So you heard it from Cypher. You're going to be seeing new stuff from Cinder every day next week, and I'm pretty pumped about that too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're out. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.